So I've got this Rotel RCC 940 up on the bench again. This is the one that the belts were serviced on, and apparently it's not playing now. So, got it apart here. Let's take a look at what happens when we hit the play button. We're not seeing any action on the laser. Okay, the laser lens should try to focus, but it's not. So we have no focus drive on this thing, which is interesting. And it does play. Intermittently, this will play. It was playing for the last 2 days. It's been playing fine, and finally it faulted. And now I can see what's causing, or what is happening. And it appears that once in a while, if you open it and close it, it will actually work. It'll actually try to focus. So I'm thinking we have a wire here somewhere that's maybe one of the wires on the slide tray that controls focus has gone bad. And just sometimes just by moving the thing, it will work. Now, I'm going to put that theory forward by, I'm just going to open the tray here, and we'll see whether, if we hit the play button with it in the tray open, whether the lens is going to try and focus. There, you see? The lens is trying to focus there, so we know it has focus drive. Now it's trying to focus. If there was a disc in place, it would try to spin. I can prove that theory by just placing a disc in one of the trays here. I'll just place a disc here. Okay, now it's of course not going to work again. When we do see the lens try to focus, I'll put a disc in. I'll drop a disc on there, and we should hear the motor try to spin up. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be okay. Trying to spin there. Nope, still not moving. I have a feeling it's definitely going to be a wire though, because sometimes it tries to focus, and other times it doesn't. It's either going to be a wire that's broken or something. But let's get this thing apart again and see what's going on, why it's not working. So it was working fine for a while, and then it just died. It could be even one of these connections on the side here where the wires hook up to the laser. See? Could be one of these connections down here too. But somewhere I think we've got a broken wire on our focus coil, and intermittently it'll work and then it won't. Either that, or perhaps it's there's a switch. There's a switch that's activated when the CD is all the way home, and if that switch gets dirty, it'll stop it from reading. So if I move the laser assembly out a bit from that home position, and we'll try cleaning that switch first of all. I'm just going to turn off the power here while I do this. As you can see right here, there's a little switch that gets activated when the laser's at home. I'm just going to try cleaning the contacts on that little switch just to see whether perhaps that is why it's not reading sometimes and sometimes it is. If it's not detecting that the laser is home, it won't start the focus hunt. So let's just clean that switch up a bit and see whether that's going to make a difference. I do have one clue here, and that's if we watch when I turn off the power. Watch the laser. Notice as soon as I power it up, the laser actually pops up. If you watch the lens, as soon as I put power to it, and that time it moved. I think we have an electrical problem on this thing. If you watch the game when I power it off, see? I power it up. I think our problem is going to be back here on the main board. Maybe a missing voltage. I'm going to pop out the main board and take a look at that, because the laser lens is driven by the focus drive circuit over here. One of these ICs is what drives the laser, and that one actually is quite warm, actually very warm. I'm going to pop the board out and see if we've got any bad connections or anything below the board on this thing, because say it's not behaving properly and everything's now kind of pointing back towards the main board. Maybe a bad connection on there, and it's causing the IC to be biased up full and lifts that lens up immediately. Well, this unit has got a hatch on the bottom, which is nice for accessing the circuit board, but look at some of these connections, like this one, like right here, like ugh, disgusting. I'm just going to go over this board, and there's also some of this crap. I already picked it off a bit there, but this stuff here, this stuff is bad news. The circuit glue stuff, right? This glue that they use to glue down wires, it becomes corrosive and conductive, and you got to get this stuff off. This stuff that started out its life yellow, and it turns kind of brown and it gets darker as it gets older, but it will cause a short. Quite often you'll end up with things that are intermittent caused by this stuff too. I'm going to just go over this board and touch up any connections that look questionable, and we'll see if that fixes our problem with our laser. Now we have two symptoms. One, the laser block won't move back into position. If I move it out, it won't move back to the home position, and the focus won't work. So I think if we can find a common problem, we may be missing one of the power supply, one of the regulators. I'm sure these op amps will work with a split voltage, and we may be missing our negative or positive supply. I don't have a schematic for it, so I'm just going to go through, look at it with my magnifying glass and see if I can spot anything on this board that, besides the obvious ones there, see if I can spot anything else that looks a little questionable, and we'll reflow them and see if it makes a difference. So I'm just going to reflow the regulator ICs and the motor drive ICs for the sled and the focus tracking servo. I'll redo all three of these ICs here, and I'll redo the regulators and anything else that looks suspicious under the magnifying glass, and we'll see if that makes any difference. So I've reflowed the connections on the main drive ICs here, and there's also a regulator over here that I resoldered, and I picked off the glue from some of these wires. Let's see whether this thing does anything different now. Okay, I've got it powered up. Let's press the play button and see whether the lens tries to focus. I would say that that's affirmative. Let's put the disc chuck back in place and see if this thing will play. So, turn off the power to do this. So we'll just put our disc chuck back in place and fasten it down with the retaining screw. It'll open up the player and we'll just place the disc in slot number 1. There we go. And close it. And press 1, play. Simple when you know what you're doing, right? I'm gonna test run this thing, but I have a feeling that I found the problem because I was able to demonstrate the problem consistently, and after reflowing those solder connections, it looks like everything is gonna be okay. Let this thing play, and hopefully that's gonna be the last of this, and I won't have to deal with this anymore. My little helper, as you can see, is wandering around in the background.